What's going on, guys? Brian Killer 45 Gamer here. FaZe Brian here. And today, I'm bringing you guys a new video, guys, for you guys today. Today, we're going to be talking about, I guess you could say, scary stories, like ghost stories that are true, that might, creep you guys out just a little bit. So, yeah. Before we get into that, though, hope you guys are having a good day today, or a good night. Hit the like button, like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. And other than that, let's get right into this. Alright, guys, we got some stories for you guys today. No fun facts, no nothing for you guys today. And this video is gonna be some scary, true stories. And this might creep you guys out, I don't know, but I hope you guys are interested anyways. I'll be liking this video. So yeah, let's get right into this. In Vietnamese culture, it is essential to properly bury a loved one in their homeland so as to ensure their contentment and afterlife. If not, the belief is that the deceased soul will wander aimlessly as it tries to find its way home. During the Vietnam War, the North Vietnamese and Viet Cong were aware that the conflict would take many fighting far from their home villages, meaning that if they died, they most certainly would end up as wandering souls. U.S. forces exploited these beliefs as a psychological scare tactic. North American troops created a tape of disembodied, tormented voices and played it on loudspeakers as they flew planes over the jungle, known as Ghost Tape Number 10. The fear tactic had been specifically created by sound engineers who drew from methods used from spooky television and radio broadcasts. The voices, some of them children, called out to the Vietnamese, warning them to flee, less than ended up damned to hell. It worked, and often led to Vietnamese troops running from their positions in a panic, which was precisely what the American troops had hoped for. Even after the Vietnamese soldiers figured out it was a recording played from flyovers, it was so unnerving that they would abandon their posts just to escape the eerie sounds that played on an endless loop throughout the night. Alright, guys, the next story is the Tucker telephone. If you were unfortunate enough to be imprisoned at the Tucker State Prison Farm in early 1960s Arkansas, you would have had the misfortune of experiencing one of the most hellacious torture devices ever invented. A prison psychiatrician named Dr. A.E. Rollins devised a torture device to punish unruly prisoners, which he fashioned out of an old crank telephone, an electric generator, and 2 dry cell batteries. For the treatment, a prisoner would be brought into a hospital room where they would be strapped down to a table, 2 wires applied to their skin. The ground wire would be wrapped around their big toe, and the hot wire, through which the electricity would run, was attached to the general's crank, was turned and, well, the prisoner got a shock. Particularly long sessions of torture were cheekily referred to as long-distance calls, but the torture was no laughing matter. In addition to permanent damage to the organs, many of the prisoners who received the treatment went completely insane. What's worse is that the device was used regularly until 1968. Alright, guys, that's the end of that story. On to the next one. Dial Death. Coincidence or not, a mobile phone company got spooked enough by a certain phone number that they discontinued it. The cell phone number 0888888888 was issued to 3 people in a 10-year period, all of whom died while having it. The first was the owner of the cell phone company himself, who died of cancer in his late 40s back in 2001. Many believed he was slowly being poisoned by a competitor for years up until his death. The next person who inherited the number a couple of years later in 2003 was gunned down while checking on his $1 million drug smuggling empire. The last victim was a state agent who was secretly running a massive cocaine operation. He was assassinated after acquiring a cell phone number in 2005. While the deaths were investigated, the number was periodically kept dormant by law enforcement, but it seemed that whenever it was brought out of retirement and reassigned, a death soon followed. Or a death soon followed. Sorry, guys. It was soon, not spoon. I apologize. After the third death in 10 years, the cell phone company suspended the number for good, but gave no comment on the persistent superstition that it was death's number. Alright, guys, next story. The previous story is over. On to the next one. And the next one is the Enfield Horror. Enfield, Illinois, 1973. Henry McDaniel and his wife arrived home after an evening out and are greeted by their 2 young boys. Lil and Henry Jr. were rightly terrified to report to their parents that a strange thing had tried to get through the front door. Chalking it up to the overactive imaginations of children, the McDaniels thought little of it. But later that night, after they'd settled in, Henry Sr. was disrupted by a strange scratching on the door, which he opened it. To his horror, something stared back at him that he recalled had 3 legs on it, a short body, 2 little short arms, and 2 pink eyes as big as flashlights. It soon 4.5 feet tall and was grayish colored. It was trying to get into the house. He ran for his pistol, shot at the thing, and after it bounded across the yard, he called the police. They were dubious, despite the fact that just a half hour before being called to the McDaniels home, they received a report of a child to the neighborhood being attacked by some creature of similar description while playing in his backyard. Henry Sr. saw the thing again several nights later, and when he called the cops again, they began to threaten him with incarceration if he kept blabbing about it all over town. McDaniel's silence didn't do much to stop the legend from spreading, and soon monster hunters swarmed Enfield. scouring the woods at night for the thing that would be called Enfield Horror. I don't know how to say this, but I'm gonna attempt it anyways. Cryptozoologist. Cryptozoologist? Cryptozoologist? Cryptozoologist. Whatever, I'm just gonna continue. Have continued to investigate the creature, some even claiming to the recorded his screams on tape, but no exclamation has ever been found. The next story is number stations. Numbers stations. Alright. Whatever happened to good old fashioned espionage in the tech department world of today, where cybercrime gets its own investigation department within the CIA and the FBI? The concept of shortwave radio based war crimes seem pretty tame. Except it's not at all, and in fact is one of the creepiest things to ever exist, or exist ever. It began with Morse code, but eventually casual radio listeners began hearing the unsettling tones of women and children's voices reading out a seemingly random strings of letters and slash or numbers, often accompanied by various beeps and blimps and interval noise noise. These broadcasts, it was almost immediately assumed that these were coded messages intended for Cold War spies. While technology and time have marched forward, these number stations are still used, and it's the thought to be one of the most convenient and foolproof methods of communicating with field agents, precisely because it seems so passe nowadays. Passe, I don't know. While intelligence service to agent communication is the leading theory on the existence of numbers stations, that are that there are still some historians and researchers who think it's all the result of an extremely well executed and elaborate prank. But given the enormous number of radio stations and all the languages in which these messages are transmitted, and would be $1 billion 50 some odd year prank, would seem pretty far fetched. The concept of a numbers station seems to have finally migrated to the internet. These Twitters behave much like their radio pre predestiners, predecessors, but the jury's still out on their validity. Alright, guys, we have another story for you guys today, and this one is the cell phone. Alright, a couple of months ago, my friend's cousin, a single mother, brought a new cell phone after a long day of work. She came home, placed her phone on the counter, and went to watch to TV. Her son came to her and asked if he could play with her new phone. She told him not to call anyone or mess with text messages, and he agreed. At around 11:20, she was drowsy, so she decided to tuck her son into bed and go to bed. She walked to his room and saw that he wasn't there. She then ran over to her room to find him sleeping on her bed with the phone in his hand. Relieved, she picked her phone back up from his hand and inspected it. Browsing through it, she noticed only minor changes, such as a new background banner, etc. But then she opened up her saved pictures. She began deleting the pictures he had taken until only one new picture remained. When she first saw it, she was in disbelief. It was her son sleeping on her bed, but the picture was taken by someone else above him, and it showed the left half of an elderly woman's face. Alright guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. Hope you guys are having a good day today or a good night. This is Brian Keller, 45 Gamer, here, Phase Brian, and take it easy guys.